Good morning, class. Again, good morning, class. So before we start, let us first have our prayer. Please, Miss Takda, please lead the prayer. Amen. So before you settle down, please pick up pieces of trash under your chairs. Thank you, and you may now all take your seats. So, Miss Secretary, who are the absent for today? Okay. It's good to hear that. Thank you, Ms. Secretary. So, before we start our discussion, may I ask who among you here can still recall what we have discussed last meeting? Yes, Ms. Pagkakulang. Yes, that's right. We discussed or tackle about verb. Okay. Today, class, we will have a new lesson. But before we indulge to our new lesson, I have first to present to you our objectives for today. Everyone, please read. Okay, thank you everyone. So these objectives set as our goal to understand our lesson well, and I hope that we can attain these objectives at the end of our discussion. So before we start, we will have first our mind teaser, which is called Jumbo. So I have here a race timer called Duck Race, which is I have written or typed your names, and this will be I will be using and choosing who will be participating in our activity. Okay, let's see who will be participating in our activity. Well, we have a winner. It's Miss Blassie. Okay, Miss Blassie, come here in front, and you have here words or a jumble words to be arranged correctly. Thank you, class, for your active participation. So this game is related to our topic for today. But before that, I have a question. What do you notice about the words or the sentences that your classmates had constructed earlier? The book was written by your favorite author. My favorite author wrote the book. So what have you noticed? Um, Analyze their differences, class. Anyone? Okay. Mr. Gwen? Yes, it is in the form of active and passive voice. So our lesson for today is about active and passive voice. So before we talk about active and passive voice, let's define first what is voice. On your own understanding, what is voice or what do we mean by the word voice of verb? Anyone? Yes, Miss Ortiz. That's right, Miss Ortiz. In other words, a voice of a verb tells us whether the subject of a sentence does the action or is affected by it. Going back to the sentences your classmate has constructed earlier, what do you think is the difference between active and passive voice? What you have noticed? The differences between active and passive voice. Yes, Sir Nicola? That's right. In other words, active voice is the subject, is the doer of the action, while the passive voice is the subject, is the receiver of the action. To test your understanding and applying the basic ideas of passive and active voice, I prepared a 10 items activity, which is to be answered orally. So you have to identify if the statement is in active voice or passive voice. Raise your hand if you want to answer. Okay, number one. Number one is
Jenny posted the letter.
okay. Jenny posted the letter. So what do you think is the answer? Yes, Miss Barcelona. It is in. It is active voice. Thank you, Miss. That's correct. Thank you, Miss Brasileño. Thank you, everyone. So it seems that you are all getting some ideas on how to construct active and passive voice. Now let's define what is active and passive voice. So as I have said earlier, active voice is when the subject is the doer of the action. So in constructing active voice, we have a pattern informing informing the active voice. First, we have the subject plus the verb, and the last is the object. So, for example, please read Miss Montagot. Okay, thank you, Miss Montagot. So, Giselle sings a song. So, it is an active voice because Giselle is the subject, as the doer of the action, sings, which is a verb. And the direct object is, what is the direct object in this example? Is a song. Next, James finished the homework. So in this scenario, James is the doer of the action, which is finish, and the direct object is the homework. Moving on, we have here passive voice. So I have said earlier that passive voice is when the subject is the receiver of the action. So the verb is formed by adding the past participle of the verb to the appropriate form of to be. The be verb carries the sentence of the main verb. So the pattern of constructive passive voice is, first we have the object, second we have the to be tense plus verb participle plus the preposition, and lastly is the subject. So we have here the example. Please read Miss Hanlangit, the first example. Thank you, Miss Hanlangit. So a song is sung by Giselle. So the song, which is the receiver of the action, now becomes the subject of the sentence, while Giselle, the doer of the action, is now part of the predicate of the sentences in passive voice. Okay. Last is the homework was finished by James. So in this example, homework becomes the subject of the sentence, and James, the receiver of the action, is now part of the predicate of the sentence. Any question, class? If not, we will have an activity. So please read the instruction. Okay, thank you. So you have to change the statement into active voice if the statement is in passive voice, and if it is in passive voice, of course you have to change it in to active voice. So you have to write it in your 1/4 sheet of paper. I will give you 5 minutes to answer. Who got the perfect score? Please raise your hands. May I see? That's good to see that most of you got the perfect score in our activity. For you to better understand what is active and passive voice in a context, I want you to watch the video that I will be playing and choose your partner in our next activity. Okay? So, you have watched the video. So, I have here the instruction of what will you do in our next activity. So, instruction. So, group yourselves into 5 groups. Each group will write a short skit using active and passive voice. You may choose your own topic and prepare to perform it in front of the class. Each group will be given 3 minutes to perform. So we have here, or I have here, the rubrics for your performance. So you may now start doing your activity silently. Okay? Time is up, class. So pass 1/4 sheet of paper with the name of your group members on it. Settle down, class, because the first group will perform now. So first group and the rest of the group, good luck and do your best. Thank you all, class. And overall, you all did a great job in your performances. Please give a round of applause to yourselves. Summarize our lesson for today, which is about active and passive voice. Active voice is when the subject comes first before the verb, which is the subject is the one doing the action and the sentence, while the passive voice focuses attention on the person or a thing affected by the action. Okay, so these are the there are the formula in forming active and passive voice sentences. First, in active voice, we have subject plus verb plus the object. While in passive voice, we have the object, next to be tense, followed by verb past participle plus preposition, and last is the subject. Okay. Any question, class? Yeah. Since you have no questions, let's have an assessment. So, instruction. Please read the instruction, class. Identify whether the statement is active or passive voice. Write your first name if it is an active and your last name if it is a passive. Write your answers on a 1/4 sheet of paper. I will give you 5 minutes to answer this activity, okay? Or this assessment, okay? Time is up, class. Exchange your papers with your seatmates and let's check your answers. Who got the perfect score, class? Raise your hands. Oh, it's nice to see that most of you got the perfect score. So please pass the paper in the center aisle and pass it to me. For your additional activity or for your assignment, make your own 5 example sentences for active voice and 5 example sentences for passive voice. Write it in a 1/2 sheet of paper and pass it on next meeting. Okay? Any questions, clarifications? Okay, if none, that's all for today and goodbye, class. See you next time.